What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the 9x9. As you'll notice, things are looking a little bit different this week. It's just me. My name is Everett DeLorme. It is episode number 63 of the 81 square meters of the best volleyball content on the internet. Of course, no Rob St. Clair this week. He is enjoying the sun down in beautiful Curacao after his honeymoon. So first and foremost, Rob, if you're listening to this afterwards, I know you're definitely not watching live. Congratulations, buddy. Happy for your marriage. Happy you're enjoying it. I originally wasn't going to do a podcast. I was going to take this week off. But as you know, as you probably know, if you're watching this, this was an absolutely bonkers banana week of volleyball, and I couldn't wait until next week to talk about it. So I'm sure we're going to revisit some of the things next week when Rob is back, and otherwise we're going to go through it. I will apologize. It's probably going to be a little bit scattered. I'm not the best at just talking to myself like this. It's better when you have someone to riff off of, someone to exchange some ideas with, someone to bounce some things back and forth. It's just easier that way, right? So we're going to try to do the best we can. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything to say, let me know in the chat. Yes, Luke, first and foremost, I know I did get a haircut. Feels good. No more ponytail. It's nice and short. I'm feeling good, look good, play good. You know the motto. But hey, let's just jump into it, because first and foremost, we need to talk about the title of this video. What you're all probably here to hear about. Perugia is done. The team that, a month ago, we were talking about winning the Infinity Gauntlet. We were talking about winning it all, winning the Scudetto, winning Champions League, winning the Italian Cup. Since they lost to Piacenza in the finals or semifinals of the Italian Cup, everything has gone down. It has gone so poorly for Perugia, and it all came to a culmination this week. First and foremost, they lost in the semifinals of the Champions League at home to the defending champs Zaksa on Thursday afternoon. That was absolutely bananas. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. And then, of course, on Monday afternoon here in North America, of course, in Eastern time, they lost in surprising fashion 3-1 to Milano. So it is a little bit incredible. Once, we wrap everything up, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of Perugia is like, where do they go from here? They've had Leon now for 5 seasons, no Scudettos, no Champions League. They haven't even made the finals of the Champions League. This year, losing in the quarterfinals of the Scudetto. That means no Champions League at all next year for Perugia. So what is this team going to look like? We're going to have to look forward to that. But first and foremost, let's kind of go through some things. We're going to start with, we got to talk about this game. JW winning over Halkbank Ankara in the quarterfinals of the Champions League to confirm and to make it so that it will be, for the first time ever, an all Polish Champions League final. JW, of course, was fantastic in their first match, and you know what? Out of the gate, they were unreal in this one. As Rob said when we were previewing this one, they play such clean volleyball, and that's exactly what we saw from them. Fornal had 9 points in the first set. He was 8 for 6. He had 17 points after the first 3 sets, and that's really all that mattered, right? Because they just needed to win those first 2. JW won the first, and then it was all Ankara after that in the second. They were going for it, and it looked like Ankara was going to make it a game, right? They were up 8-2 in the third, really going after it, but then JW was so good to just close that gap and really clamp down on them. They brought Toniuti out, they brought Tervaporti in, and that change of the offense and just changing it up a little bit. Tervaporti came in, bringing a little bit of energy and really just changed everything up, and they brought it all the way back. Were able to take home the third set 25-22, which was really all that they needed. Oh no, sorry. They lost the. Did they? Oh yeah, they did lose. They did lose. Halkbank did go up 2-1. There's been so much volleyball happening since then. But you're right. You're right, Luke. They did implode in set 4 with so many bad mistakes. It was a tough way to watch them go out like that. 21-12, ending that set in 25-16. You could just tell that they had been going for so long, just trying to hold on so tight. But at the end of the day, it just really didn't matter. As I said, Fornal was unreal in this match. Definitely the MVP for me. He was named MVP in this one as well. He had 19 points overall. Boyer had 17, and Yuri Glider had 12. And then Trevor Cleveno as well with another 14. So you could just tell they were just so clean everywhere. On the other side of the net, it was a little difficult, especially for Namir. Namir did not have his best outing. He was 15 for 41. And with 13 errors overall. There was not a great outing for Namir overall, especially both of these matches against JW were just not the best look for Namir. It was a tough way to see him go. Thomas Shkeshki, on the other hand, was incredible. He was 15 for 23 with 4 blocks and 3 aces. If Halkbank had won, he definitely would have been the MVP, and I think he might have been the MVP for Halkbank. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. JW qualifies for the final. It is going to be their first final since when I know I wrote this down. When's the last time JW was in the final? I believe 2015. I'm not sure. Or actually, no, they have never made a Champions League final, so that's going to be big for them. Of course, on the other side of the net, we all know that Zaksa is going through for the three-peat. So big ups to JW. They booked their ticket to Turin for later on in May, but now this is the one that you guys all want to know about. And in a lot of ways, it was kind of tough to watch. It would, Perugia would come out of the gate strong in both sets 1 and 2, and really that's all that matters. That's all we're going to talk about. Perugia would come out of the gate strong. They were riding that crowd. They had banners all over saying, this is all that matters, and that, Zaksa, welcome to hell, but it really didn't seem like they made it difficult for Zaksa at all. Zaksa would wait them out, kind of play calm, cool, and collected, and then just play a really, really strong team game. And I think that's especially what we've come to know Zaksa as playing that strong team game. They're going to work well together. They're going to make those changes as they need to be. But ultimately in this one, Bartosz Bednors was outstanding. He was untouchable. He was 11 for 13 with no errors. 13 points overall in sets 1 and 2. He was just untouchable. And that's the kind of numbers that we would expect from an all-world player. That's kind of the stuff that we were expecting from Leon. Leon was not bad. He was 9 for 18 with an ace, 10 points overall. But ultimately, you could just tell that Zaksa plays together as a team. And they have those strong links together with one another. They play their system as a team as opposed to just a group of individuals. And that's, I'm sorry, we're going through some of the wrong, this should not be, there we go, pause it here. Zaksa plays as a team. Perugia does not play as a team. That is my big synopsis over all this on, and we're going to talk about it a little bit too after their loss to Milano, but you could just tell that all season long, Perugia was just riding off of these individual performances. One game they would use Leon, the next one Semeniuk, sometimes Plotnitsky, sometimes Rutlicki, sometimes Herrera, but they didn't have that ability to work together as a team. And ultimately, especially in this one, it's just Zaksa puts on so much pressure. It didn't really seem like after 10 points, it didn't really seem like Perugia was in it at all. And it was just Zaksa all day and all night. And you're not wrong, Luke. Gianelli did need to get subbed out, and I think that was one of the biggest things for Anastasi and his crew is that some players were given a lot of leeway, others not so much. Rich Licky started this one. Maybe it wasn't the right call. Then they had Semeniuk start, pulled him out in the second. And then Plotnitsky came in and he wasn't great either. So there was just so much to be left for on the table for Perugia, and still with Leon, they have yet to be able to even make a Champions League final, which is absolutely ridiculous. Ronnie, hi to you too. 9x9, more like square root of 9 podcast. Yes, it's just me. We know that. Rob isn't here. So we're gonna try to make it happen. We thought about inviting you on, but after the disaster that was last time inviting you on, and you're rambling on your birthday, we decided no, that wasn't a good idea. But yeah, what do you guys think about Perugia in this one? I thought they were going to come out a lot stronger, but I did say on last week's episode that if they lost to Zaksa, they were going to lose to Milano, and that's exactly what happened. This team just imploded. Of course, they showed Xerxes was gone after the second set. He was nowhere to be found, and the more I hear about this man as president of Perugia, and you know what? I really do feel for him, right? I think he's someone who has this dream and he wants to build up volleyball, and he's putting money into it, and he wants to, make his team the best team in the world. But it just seems like he's holding the stick too tight, as we would say here in Canada. Of course, with the hockey reference, he's just putting too much pressure on. And as last week on the show, I called him the Jerry Jones of volleyball. Jerry Jones is the infamous owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and it's much of the same. They go out and spend all the money that they can spend to buy the best players that they can find, but they still can't get the job done. And that's exactly what we've seen here with Perugia. And we are going to talk about it a little bit once we kind of recap everything. But you know what? The chat is kind of saying, yeah, Perugia is extremely talented, but mentally weak. Wheels fell off. Absolutely, Mr. Bro Rush, you're right. Sport us, there's no team in Perugia and wrong players to build the team. And, once again, I can't disagree with that, right? They are really strong pillars, but there was just no links between them. And that's why I think we've seen them kind of crumble down this stretch. But I'm really excited to talk about it a little bit more once Rob is back next week. I'm excited to see what he thinks, and we can kind of go back and forth. But yeah, it's just part of me is a little bit sad. I won't lie. Part of me is a little bit sad just because I like greatness. I enjoy when teams are the best. I enjoy when they succeed at the highest level. That's why I love watching Tiger Woods golf. That's why I like watching Lewis Hamilton drive in F1. Growing up, I was a huge fan of Manchester United. I mean, partly because they were one of the only teams that you could watch if you were a soccer fan in Canada. But at the end of the day, it was just too much, like it was difficult to watch this team crumble given how dominant they were this year and undefeated for so long. And then just nothing. But hey, it is what it is. As we said, it was going to be an all Polish team final. Oh, I would love to know who is being Ace Vollywood right now, because that's hilarious. Yeah, don't worry, we won't use any of your content, FIVB. Who would want to do that anyways, right? Who would want to grow stuff? Hard not to mention this. Semeniuk also stunk it up himself. You're not wrong. Semeniuk did not look good. You could just tell he's not comfortable in Perugia. It's tough to watch. It was really tough to watch. I didn't watch the Zaksa match as intently on volumetrics as I did the Milano match. To me, in the Milano match, Semeniuk wasn't enough as much as the problem as Plotnitsky was or as Gianelli was. But there is one thing that you could tell that in the past, Semeniuk would make an error and they were few, and he would just bounce back. You know, he would just bounce back from it nice and easy, and it would be here, but it would be nothing. But when he plays for Perugia, and I've noticed this kind of to later this season, errors just mean so much to him, and he gets so upset, and you can tell it kind of knocks him off his game a little bit. So yeah, all right, moving on to the women's side, because last week, of course, we did have some women's sides. This one was a fantastic match. Novara just jumped out to a massive 2-0 lead. They only had I think 5 service errors in the match, only 3 after 2 sets, and were just really, really good. Like no, sorry, they had 13 in the match, but they only had 3 service errors. After 2 sets, and that's really what helped them go up 2-0. Karakurt was really good in this one. She was 25 for 51, only 7 errors overall, which for her is actually pretty good. And attacking wise, she was better than Boskovic in this one, but Novara was incredible in sets 1 and 2. I thought they were going to be able to pull off the sweep, which would have been huge, but Zaksa was so good to kind of put the pressure on, start passing a little bit better, especially in sets 3 and 4, and really come together as a team. But then in set 5, it was all Novara. They were really, really good in set 5. Even though Zaksa jumped out to that early lead, I thought Zaksa was going to come back, but they fought back so well. And it was nice to see. I thought Bossetti was really, really good. Even though she wasn't fantastic offensively, she's just so strong defense. She's so good in passing, and just brings in a nice, well-rounded game for Novara. So they were able to win the first game last week 3-2, but of course they played earlier today, and it was all Zaksa. They were just unreal on another level, as we see that second set, 25-12. Tana Boskovic was the MVP. And, of course, all Novara needed to do was win 2 sets, but they didn't even win one. So, as we thought, Zaksa is going to move on to the finals, and that's huge because that means it's going to be an all-Turkish final on the women's side of the Champions League. And on the men's side, actually, if we go back to that for a second, it's going to be for the first time since 2015 that we haven't had an Italian team in the finals of the Champions League. But it's going to be for the first time since 2007 that there's no Italian teams or Russian teams in the Champions League finals. And as we said, it's going to be an all Polish final between JW and Zaksa, and I can't wait. I don't think the fans in Turin are going to be too stoked about that, right? That's going to be not so great, but you do think that, it is awesome for two Polish teams, and since it's later in May, I think it's the 20th of May. That means there's going to be a lot of time for Polish fans to get things going and get down there. On the women's side, because we still have the other semifinal match between Fenerbahce and VakifBank tomorrow. Fenerbahce is winning, takes that first match 3-0, and man, they just, that first set there, 25-10, was just absolutely disgusting. Um, for those who aren't or who are just listening, we've got some funny things going on in the chat. Um, I'm pretty sure it's Ronnie who's just made himself another account, but otherwise, you just this is exactly why you need to watch this live, or not even live, but watch it online if you're listening to it, because there's funny things that go in the chat. But yeah, like we said, going back to Fenerbahce versus VakifBank, just a huge, like, Fenerbahce is just so aggressive. They went after this one so hard. And I'm trying to see, has there ever been an all Turkish final? No, there has not. There's never been an all Turkish final. And the last time we didn't have an Italian team on the women's side is going back to 2014, where VakifBank was playing Kazan. But you have had a Turkish team in the finals of the Champions League for quite a while now. That's very, very impressive. I didn't know Blaj made it back in 2018. That's awesome. Yeah, but like I said, this one, VakifBank versus Fenerbahce, was just off the rails. Melissa Vargas was crazy. She had 19 points. Anna Cristina had 13. 12 for Irina Fedoretseva. She had 4 aces on her own. Vargas had 10 aces for Fenerbahce compared to only 1 versus VakifBank. And to me, this has switched up altogether. I think it's going to take a miracle, because they did it in VakifBank Stadium as well too. So Fenerbahce gets to go home for the next leg. It would take an absolute miracle, for VakifBank to be able to come back in this one. Ogonu was all right. No, she was 16 for 36 with a block, but the only player to reach double digits. Gabby was 6 for 16. Wasn't that great, and it's really tough to watch. It's really tough to watch. Like how VakifBank has broken down like this. Like almost in the same way as Perugia. They won everything last year. They're the cream of the crop. They won the World Club Championships, and they won the Champions League. And this year, they have just not been the same. And yeah, it's tough. I really don't know what to think about it. But ultimately, here the addition of Melissa Vargas is absolutely unreal, and we have to think about, like, what does this mean for Poland moving forward with their addition? Karakurt is kind of, can they find a way to have both of those athletes on the court? That's the big question to me. I'm not sure they can, but if they can figure it out, maybe having one of them on the left side, that really. Sorry, I said Poland, but I meant Turkey. Turkey. That really answers a lot of things for Turkey, and I think it makes them a little legitimate team. But it's looking like it's going to be Zaksa against Fenerbahce in the finals, unless VakifBank comes up with a huge result and is able to force a golden set. And even then, having to play a golden set in a Fenerbahce's home is going to be difficult. Is going to be very, very difficult. So I'm not going to call anything, because a few times this year we've called, hey, this is definitely going to happen, and it hasn't. So we're just going to keep it going. All right. One last thing to talk about: European volleyball. They did it. Modena was able to save face. They went into Roeselare and they were able to win the CEV Cup. Honestly, didn't watch this match. But yeah, congratulations for Modena. Great that you won the CEV Cup, because that's really all you're going to be winning this year, as we were going to talk about in a second. they just got knocked out of the Scudetto playoffs. So let's just jump in to Italy. As I said, this one's going to be a kind of quick one. I'm hoping not to jump around too much. It's not easy. I really respect the people who are just able to do a podcast and just talk on their own, because I definitely can't do it, and it's not the easiest. All right, moving on to the Scudetto playoffs now. You're seeing here on the screen the Milano versus Perugia game, and this is one that I don't know if I'm going to say it surprised me, because once again, I remember I did call that if they lost to Zaksa, they would lose to Milano. And that's exactly what happened. And Milano, in certain ways, has a similar makeup to Zaksa, as in they're a very good team all around, and they work well together. I will say, someone commented so Ishikawa is the GOAT. Now, if you know me, and if you're a fan of this show over the past year and a half, you've known that I've been maybe somewhat critical at times of Ishikawa, but not this time. Not this time. Watching the game, I thought Ishikawa had a fantastic game, but also Melgarejo, I thought he came in and had a few big swings, but watching back, especially on volumetrics and watching it from the baseline, dude, Ishikawa was unreal in this game. Unreal. They threw him so much junk, and he was able to figure it out. He passes so well. He plays defense, and to me, the biggest thing while watching this game is how together of a team Milano is, especially in coverage, especially in their block defense relationship. That, to me, in watching the game from Milano's perspective and from Perugia's perspective, Milano just plays well together as a team, and you can tell they support each other. You can tell that they work to players' strengths and not to their weaknesses, whereas Perugia, as I said, they're just kind of pillars out there. They're all just individuals. They're great individual blockers, and they get a lot of one-on-one blocks, but then as team blocking, they're all over the place. There's missed times, there's gaps, and especially Ishikawa was just feasting on that all day. It was tough to watch there, and then their block to defense relationship, and this to me has to be on Anastasi, is just all over the place. Just all over the place. Guys are scoring easy shots down the line, like behind the block. I don't know how many times Patrick was given that back door, and like he shouldn't be allowed to hit the back door the way that he was. It was, man. Whoever's is his face Ace Volleyball account is awesome. Once again, if you're just listening to it, this is another reason to come watch it on YouTube, because there's shenanigans. But as I said, like that, I don't know how many times they let Patrick go backdoor, and I'll be very like Poro is not good at setting the right side. He's really good at playing with his middles, and he's really good at giving the ball to the left side, but his right side sets are way off. And I don't know how many times, like in the middle, Milano's middles just had open, clean looks just to swing away. Same thing with Ishikawa coming out of the back row and Melgarejo coming out of the back row. They can almost do what they want, whereas it was really, really rare for Perugia's middles to get a clean look and to get a clean swing. It was rare for Semeniuk or Plotnitsky, because Leon barely played in this match, to get a clean look from the baseline, from the back row. And this is where we have to talk about Gianelli, because this was a man who a month ago, 2 months ago, I was slotted in as the best setter in the world. But especially having watched back the match with against Milano, his offense is very predictable. He doesn't set the ball as how the hitters like it. He tries to run it fast when they don't really need when they don't really need it. And he just overcomplicates things. Like, I don't know how many times he's falling to his knees and trying to reverse it all the way to the back, all the way to the backside, and then Herrera's just put in a bad position. Like, so many times, Poro is just getting to the ball, just staying down. Like, Gianelli's jump setting like a meter behind the attack line. Why? Just get to the ball, set your feet, set the ball at the outside, let your hitter swing away. You have some of the best hitters in the world. So, like, to me, I think Gianelli really needs to go back and look. And I'm not saying, Gianelli looks like he was just taking on too much. I don't know if this team had another leader. Leon is quiet, and Semeniuk is quiet, and Plotnitsky is quiet. Herrera is usually the only guy with any energy altogether. But, Gianelli was serving strong, and he was blocking, and he was playing defense. But it just seemed once again like he was trying too much and trying to do too much and not letting his hitters not letting his hitters kind of get the job done and just trust his hitters. Like, at a certain point, you can't. There was just way too much oversetting. But like I said, I think Ishikawa was absolutely outstanding. For me, he wasn't just the MVP in this match. He was the MVP of the series. He was so good. He was so fun to watch. I will honestly say that my respect for Ishikawa has skyrocketed due to this series. It was great to watch. Ronnie, I know it's you. Wait, Ronnie, are you serious that Leon had an argument with Anastasi, and that's why he didn't start the last game against Milano? Please let me know in the chat here, because if that's the case, that is crazy. That's another thing too. Like, you could tell that this team was mismanaged. It seemed like. I think in past years, guys like Heinen were too eager to have put their hands on this team, and this year, Anastasi was kind of like, whoa, like I want to touch, I don't want to deal with the chemistry, and at a certain point he should have, because it just looked bad. It really truly looked bad, and wow, that Leon had an argument with Anastasi, and that's why he didn't start the last game. Well, as we said, that's going to be a lot for Perugia to swallow, because they are done. And you know what? Big ups to Milano. I think this was a really, really good team that really came together, and they started playing their style of volleyball. And Ishikawa got injured in the fourth. It looked like he hurt his ankle, and they had to take him off and bring Malgarejo in. But at that point, it didn't matter. And that's how you can tell. That's why you could tell that Milano just plays well as a team. And as I said, they're very Zaksa-like. Not as crisp and as clean as Zaksa, of course, but they play well in all facets of the game. They're really strong down the middle. Lozer had a fantastic game. Was just swinging away. Let's actually look at some of the stats for this one. Yeah, Herrera was hands down the best player for Perugia. He was 16 for 28, was really, really good. Plotnitsky was really bad, especially in receive. It shows here that he was aced 3 times. It had to be more than that. It really, really had to be more than that. The liberos, too, the relationship between the libero and whoever is that back row player is that back row left side is just off. There was way too many times where there was one in the fourth set where it was a 3-man block. I think it was Ishikawa, or maybe I can't remember who was swinging, and it's not a hard shot, not quite off speed, but not a super hard shot. And I really, as a libero, I want to see Kalachi kind of crash that ball and go pick it up, and he took a step back, and it's like, what is going on there? And Semeniuk is kind of looking at him like, what are you doing? Like Semeniuk needs to get ready to go hit the pipe. So yeah, looking at this one, you can just tell how well that offense is spread out. 18 points for Ishikawa. As I said, he was only 15 for 41, so his numbers weren't fantastic. But when you watch back and you look at just how much junk he was given, um, it, it, he was unreal. Jean-Patrick, not his best game, 9 for 27. He had 10 points. Lozier, as I said, he was really, really good. He also had 10 points with 2 blocks and an ace in there. And then Malgarejo, who wasn't fantastic, 11 for 38, only hitting 29%. But when he was scoring, was timely. They were timely swings. And as I said, like, this was not a perfect game from Milano in any situations, but they were really, really good as a team and good enough to beat Perugia. And I mean, it's crazy that a team that was undefeated all season in like the last month and a half or so has lost 6 matches. Okay, whoever's this fake Ace Volleyball account is just too is just too much. Oh, just too good. I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, I think I've talked about this enough so far, because you know what, big ups for Milano, because as much as Perugia was crumbling, like, they put the pressure on to make them crumble. All right, let's move on to the next big one. Piacenza pulling off the reverse sweeps of all reverse sweeps. Not only did they come down from being 0-2 in the series, but they also came down from being 0-2 in this match. You're seeing Modena one set 1 25-19 and set 2 25-17, and then it was all Piacenza after that. And that's, you know what, kind of what they expected. Rinaldi was really good early on, and then he just started getting pummeled. He got aced 4 times. And yeah, that's kind of is what it is. Engapeth was actually pretty good in this one. He was 15 for 25. He did get blocked 6 times. And I think Lugumja was hands down the best Modena player, not only in this series but all season long. He was pretty good as well, 17 for 34. But when you look on the Piacenza side of things, man, when this team gets rolling, they are deadly. They hit 46% as a team. What did Modena hit? Modena hit 54, but to me that has to be mostly from sets 1 and 2 where they dominated, right? They won 19 and 17. But then after that, and I turned this off for a little bit. I just had it on the second screen because I was like, it looks like Modena's going to win, but Piacenza really, really turned things around. Lucarelli was fantastic. He was 18 for 29, swung 62%, which is ridiculous. Simone had 13 points. Romano had 12. Leal had 11. And this is a team that if they get hot, it could get dangerous. Although I have to say now, we're gonna show the bracket in just a little bit. Man, this Piacenza team on paper is the most skilled team left in the Scudetto playoffs now that Perugia's gone. But I mean, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see what's next. You know, and in this one, like, Romano was not so good at the beginning, but then really, really turned it on for this team, for Piacenza. They had 5 aces and 12 blocks. So big ups for Piacenza for pulling off the reverse sweeps of reverse sweeps. As I said, down 0-2 in the series, then down 0-2 in the match, and they were able to pull off the reverse sweep on the road at the Palapanini. Is that what it is, Modena fans? I think it is what it is. All right, moving on now to the other one. This one was not much of a surprise. It was also a series reverse sweep because Verona did come out, but man, once they figured out their lineup a little bit more, and once they had Zaitsev on the left side and Nikolov, or like Zaitsev in the serve receive, sorry, and Nikolov not taking as many serve receive reps, it was just a better scenario all around for Lube. And this is where you can see the quality of what Lube is. You know, they're looking for the three-peat. They're looking for their 5th straight final. And it's just, you know, it just shows how good how good they are. Oh, once again, sorry to everyone who's just listening, because our Ace Volleyball troll in the chat is just cracking me up. But as I said, Yant was the MVP in this one, and he was really good. 13 for 20. He did make 5 errors, but still 13 for 20 is different. And you're right. Yant, there's regular season Yant, and then there's playoff Yant. And playoff Yant is fun to watch. And you know what? This Lube team over the past 3 games is really, really growing on me. It would be interesting to see what they would have been able to do if they had figured out this lineup and this way of playing earlier in the season. But hey, you know what? It's ridiculous. It's really, really good. When you look down at the Verona side, to me, they just got really predictable. And I mean, their passing wasn't even that bad. They passed 48% positive, 25% perfect. Nomori Keita was actually pretty good. He passed 67. Yatarena. He passed 60. Keita passed 67% positive and didn't get aced once. And Gagini, somebody commented in one of the last videos that it's the two, what is it? The 2 G's? It makes the G sound. So Gagini was the one that they were targeting the most, and he was definitely the weakest passer. But you know what? They had no aces from the baseline, just not putting enough pressure on this Lube team. When you look at Lube's passing, it was outstanding. 57% positive, 32% perfect. It is kind of a like what would have happened had they kept my boy Gord Perrin and had him in the roster. Because Shaposhkov was pretty good. He was 13 for 23, ended it with 14 points. Keita with 17 points. Rachmozic with 12. But they just didn't use the middles at all. Alex Grozdanov had a rough day. He was 1 for 5. And who's their other middle? Oh, yeah. They had Mosca, and he only had one swing. They set him one time in 2 sets, and then they brought in Cortesia, who was 3 for 4 in the third, but it's still it still just wasn't enough. So tough for Verona. They had a really good season. It looked like they were about to win, going up 2-0. But Lube, this is why they continue to win. This is just a quality club and a quality program that knows how to win and knows how to get the job done when it truly matters. So big ups for Lube. All right, let's move on here. Oops, that's a little bit bigger than it needs to be. And we're going to look at the draw here. And this is going to be good. I think this is going to be really good. On one side of the bracket up there, we got Milano taking on Lube Civitanova. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, we're going to have Trentino taking on Piacenza. And it's two teams who are really offensively gifted in Lube and Piacenza, against two teams that play really, really well together. I mean, all of them are offensive gifted. Like, this is the Scudetto playoffs. There's the top 4 teams, but it's going to be big because these are the teams. The top 3 will go into top 3 into Champions League. I can't remember. Maybe just 2. Maybe just 2. Yeah, because I think it was just Lube and Perugia and Trentino. So yeah, top 3 will be in Champions League, and that 4th place team will be in the CEV Cup. And I guess the 5th place team will be in the CEV Cup. But still, that's 2 teams who haven't really played at that level, right? Milano won the Challenge Cup a few years ago, but they haven't really been there. Piacenza lost to Toulouse, or no, they lost to Roselaire in the CEV Cup semifinals this year, and it should have been Piacenza versus Modena, but Piacenza versus Trentino, and I'm seeing some people in the chat saying that that's the real final. I don't necessarily disagree. I do think that Trentino is. I mean, they're fantastic. We don't really need to go into how good that team is. And they probably have the best setter still left. Oh no, DeCecco's on the other side. Never mind. But Spertoli runs a fantastic offense, and you've got weapons in all 5 positions. They just play a really steady game. But then against Piacenza, who is loaded offensively, that's going to be a really, really good one. And I think on the other side too, Milano versus Lube, I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup. But I do agree, Mr. Bro Rush, that whoever wins that Trentino versus Piacenza matchup is going to be the heavy favorites in the finals. But hey, this has been an absolutely bonkers Scudetto playoff so far, and obviously heavy favorites means nothing. It doesn't mean anything at all at this point. So I do believe let's look at the schedule here real quick for the playoffs, because I do believe they start tomorrow actually, which would be Thursday. Let me just pull things up here. Yep, Thursday. That is going to be game 1. So it looks like both of the matches are going to be starting at 2:30 Eastern time. Of course, both of them are going to be on Ray Sport, but also, or both of them are going to be on Volleyball World TV. But Trentino versus Piacenza will also be on Ray Sport. And then match number 2 is going to be on Sunday, both at noon Eastern time. So, Lorenzetti leaving after this year. Oh, I didn't know that. I remember, wait, where is he going? I remember seeing rumors about that, but I can't really remember about where he's going. Will they win the Scudetto as a send-off? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think it's wide open. Yes, I do think that the more loaded semifinal is Trentino versus Piacenza, but I think it's wide open. I really, really do. Because Milano looks like a good team, and if they can beat Perugia, they can beat anyone, right? And Lube has consistently surprised us, right? And they've consistently showed us that they are able to that they are able to get the job done. So I really don't know. I think it's going to be wide open, and things have just gotten even more interesting at this point. So yeah, I think I do want to finish things off just to chat about Perugia a little bit, because this is big. As I said, since Leon has joined the team in 2018, and like this is a team that won the Champions League in 2017. Since Leon has joined the team in 2018, they have no Scudettos, no Champions League. They've gone through 4 different coaches. First Bernardi, then Heinen. Heinen was the only one to coach for 2 years. Gerbic, and then Anastasi. I'm assuming they're going to be getting another coach now, especially if Ronnie's saying it's true. What that's true that they benched Leon because he had an argument with Anastasi. That's absolutely massive. But they won't be playing Champions League next year. They might be getting into the CEV Cup. I think they probably will if they want to play that fifth place playoff. Um, sorry. They're gonna, if they win that fifth place playoff, which I don't see them wanting to do. But like, is Leon gonna stay? Does Semeniuk want to stay? Does Gianelli want to stay? Right, you're not playing in Champions League. I think that's huge for some of these athletes. But furthermore, like, this is a team that has clearly set their sights now for half a decade on winning it all, and they've been unable to do that. I don't even think they haven't even made a Champions League final, right? So it's just really tough to watch. But furthermore, what does this tell us about Leon? And I mean, obviously it's a little bit difficult, the fact that he wasn't there to close it out in the last match against Milano. But you know, we put so much stock on him and being the best player in the world because of his time at Zenit Kazan. But we forget, maybe not forget, but when we look at the athletes that he had around him at Zenit Kazan, and they had, Mikhailov, and they had Matt Anderson. Um, it's just like that was the best team in the world, bar none. And Perugia has tried to recreate that, and they just really haven't been able to. I think the biggest thing, we all know that Leon his contract is like 1.4 million a year. Are they going to be able, like, is any other team going to be able to take on that contract? I'm just not sure. So there's a big question mark for me on what does the future for Perugia look like in general? And Ronnie's saying in the chat that Anastasi was told after the first game against Zaksa in Poland that he was done after this year. But also, like, what does this mean for Leon's legacy overall? I really don't know. I think we're gonna have to wait for the dust to settle a little bit more. But I do think that this takes a massive hit because, if we remember 2 years ago, and I'm just going to talk about pre or post COVID. If we look about 3 years ago when they didn't win at all, it's like, okay, well, they had Tragica and Heinen, misled the team and blah blah blah, all this, and then last year he was obviously injured, needed surgery, so hey, we're going to give him a pass for that. But now this is starting to be a bit of a pattern now with Leon. And especially when you look at the fact that he's struggled with Poland as well too since joining them. Of course, part of that was due to injury. He struggled there as well. It's really tough to it's really tough to say, but I do think when Rob comes on, I think Rob and I are gonna have to discuss this in depth. And I really wish that Dan from 5-1 was still around, because he would bring such he would bring such a good insight into this. Leon Semeniuk, Plotnitsky, Gianelli, all of them have contracts. Okay, that'll be interesting to see. They've clearly got to figure out that right side, and they've got to figure out the libero position, and they have to find a coach who can deal with this team. And I think Gino Cerci has to take a step back. He can't be the Jerry Jones of volleyball anymore. He just really can't. Otherwise, it's really gonna go poorly. But even if all of those guys do have contracts for next year, do they resign? I'm not entirely sure. I really don't. So yeah, well, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. All right. I think that is gonna be it for me tonight. Don't worry, Rob will be back next week. It'll look the same. Rob has all the templates and things on his computer. It'll sound the same because both of us will be together. The fact that we had as many people tune in tonight as we've had is incredible. So thank you very much for tuning in and still supporting us. Semeniuk needs a change of scenery. I do agree that he should just go back to the Plusliga, right? Especially with how good the Plusliga has been. He should just go back to the Plusliga without a doubt. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for Ace Volleywood for coming in to hang out, or Ace Volleywood for coming in to hang out and being a troll. I'm just reading some of the comments that were in. Tomorrow we do have Champions League. We do have game 2 of Fenerbahce versus VakifBank. That was going to be going down at noon Eastern time, and then at 2:30 Eastern time is going to be the first round or game 1 of the Scudetto semifinals. So thank you very much for tuning in. As I said, Rob will be back next week, and we will see you then. Peace.